Alright. I'm gonna try and tell this dream. We'll see if anything comes of it. Because I don't have the best memory of it. And it was really weird, not so much scary. In this dream, our church had, and I have no idea where this came from, by the way, because I wasn't thinking about China at all, really, before I went to bed or anything like that. This is just a really serious wild card that my brain decided to come up with. Our church decided that they were going to do a mission trip to China. And it was the first time that the Chinese government had publicly declared that religion was no longer like a persecutable crime. Like all of the Christians that were underground in China could now have public buildings where they could worship, and it was a crime to attack them or harass them, basically. Which, as of right now, I think China persecutes Christians. Oh, not good. And when they announced that, I really just felt like, oh goodness, I really felt like God was calling me to help. The boys were older, and so Mom and Brent said, excuse me, if you guys want to go do this, the boys can stay with us. It's going to be for 1 week. The church is covering airfare. They had taken a contribution, like a special contribution for the church, the church trip, the mission trip, and they had made enough money to bring 18 people round trip to China. So Emily said, if you want to do this, I will go with you. And I'm just going to trust God that He keeps us safe. Because when you get there, there'll be absolutely no guns, no weapons. And if the government decides to flip, or somebody, like you're a white person, and on top of that, you're over 6 feet tall and you're over 300 pounds. So you're going to stick out like a sore thumb. I just said, I'm really just thinking God's calling me to do this. And so that's what it is. So Emily said, okay, I will support you. Well, we went and got our passports. And I was able to take short-term unpaid leave with my work. And so was Emily. Oh, there's some deer. Get out of here. These people must think I'm crazy. It's always this area. These people must just be asleep. It's not even 6:30. Honk! Who the heck's honking outside? Well, it's gonna be too bad for you, buddy, because I'm not taking a deer to the front of my truck. Where was I? Oh yeah, we secured short-term leave. Everything was all set. And we went to an Italian restaurant and had like a bunch of cheese and bread because we figured we probably weren't going to be tasting anything except Chinese food for a while. We wanted like to load up on like cheese and all that stuff so that for one, Chinese food would sound good / taste good, but also so that we could eat something different. Anyways, we got on the plane. I think it was Alan and Aaron and Russ, and I think the Gurink family minus their kids, or I should say Andrew and Evie. I guess I'm gonna have to make this video unlisted now because I just gave out somebody's full name. Whoops. There was a bunch of other people from church, and oh, I can't believe I just did that. Thank you, morning brain. We all got on the plane together, took off. I think first we landed in like Germany, and then after like a 4-hour layover, we took the rest of the way to China. And man, were we exhausted. The thing was, they didn't tell us this, that we were partnering with a local church there. They had like minimal sleeping arrangements for us. I think we landed on a Friday. The plan was we were gonna relax Saturday, and then the rest of the week we were gonna help do like church work projects, because they had a building but it was kind of falling apart, and the church had managed to secure enough money to buy some building supplies, and they were going to help rebuild the building and make it nicer. Air conditioning, the roof was okay, but like there were floorboards that needed to be replaced. There was just, general maintenance and upkeep, because it wasn't like any of us could speak Chinese, so it wouldn't do us any good to like go door knocking or anything. We weren't there for that, but we were there to help perform general labor. So when we got there on Friday, we were gonna sleep the rest of the Friday, and then Saturday we just basically had the opportunity to just go do what we wanted. We could just explore the shops and have street food and just, basically be a tourist for the day. So Emily and I were going to be sleeping in this really crummy trailer. There was like, it was so tiny. It was not meant for somebody my size. Let's just put it that way. This bed, and they were not like beds for more than one person. Emily had to sleep on one side of this bed. Or Emily slept on one bed on one side of the little trailer. And I slept in the other bed. And I basically had to lay on my side and lean up against the wall. And that trailer smelled like a fried armpit. It smelled so bad. There was no air conditioning. But, you know, we weren't going to complain because we weren't there to work. And for most of history, no one had AC. So it wasn't their fault that, you know, we lived in the most coddled, comfortable history, or the most comfortable period of history. I hope I'm making sense. I haven't had coffee. My brain's not working. So, Saturday game. We had the opportunity to first go see the building in the morning. They laid out what repairs were going to be done. And like, basically Al was kind of gonna direct, like he didn't even, on Friday he went over, and while everyone else was trying to sleep, he went and like weighed off all the jet lag. He went and met with the guy that owned the church, who spoke like some English, and Al basically told him, I'm really good with building, and I know what I'm doing, so just let me kind of, if you just give me the materials, I will just fix it, and you don't have to worry. And they were so thankful. Like, apparently they were crying that they were getting this help, and that this is the first time in history that any of them had seen Americans, and that any of them had been public with their faith. And so Saturday came, we went and we saw the building. Al laid out what we were going to be doing, what he needed people to be able to do this and do that. Just a breakdown on what we were going to be doing, basically. But he said, today, go and have fun and enjoy the scenery. There are different parks and there are restaurants and blah blah blah. It was just a layout for what we were going to be doing that day and what he hoped to have done by the end of the week. So we go and we go back to our trailers. Emily said, I will be honest, I brought my Game Boy and my DS with me, which we had electricity in the trailer. There were some solar panels. Oh, that was a dead coyote. We had some solar panels that plugged directly into the trailer. And so what I was doing was I was charging a CPAP battery throughout the day with these solar panels, and that's how I use my CPAP. But also Emily had a Game Boy or a DS that she was charging, because she said, I will be honest, I don't want to go to any of the shops or restaurants. I just don't feel safe, and I also don't want to get sick. So you can go if you want, but I'm not going to go with you. And I said, okay, well, I'm not super comfortable, but I know that as long as I have Google, because I downloaded a translator app, that even without internet, I could use the translator to understand Chinese well enough to kind of go back and forth. And I had the battery in my phone replaced, which I don't even think you can do that, but I had it replaced so that the phone would be way more reliable. Okay. So I went out to some of these shops. The first thing, I think someone from this food vendor offered me like a piece of meat on a stick, and like no one wanted to charge me for stuff due to the fact like I tried to pay them in American dollars, and they basically just said, no, you don't pay. No, you don't pay. And I was like, well, at least let me give you $1. And they were like, oh, no. They just kept saying no. Which made me think of the boys. They basically just, I was a tourist, and if I liked their food or ate their food, then it was kind of like proof to everyone else. Hang on a sec. Can you please turn? This is right about the time when the train likes to come through. I think I see it. Go. Oh yeah, she's coming. So is that semi truck. So the guy handed me like a piece of meat on a stick. It basically just tasted like soy sauce and onions, and it was good. And I was hungry. But like, I guess I wasn't thinking. Al had said, be careful where you eat, because the bacteria in this country that are native to these people's stomachs are not native to yours, and you can get really sick if you eat the wrong thing. He said if you're gonna go out and enjoy street foods, make sure it's something that is basically burnt to a crisp or deep fried. But don't eat like any kind of raw meat or like salad or rice unless it's deep fried or whatever. And all the bacteria are gonna for sure be killed. Well, this piece of meat had been like grilled into oblivion, so I thought it was gonna be safe. I ate it, and I went to this used video game shop because I thought it would be really cool. It was almost like an antique store, but it was like a mall, and it just had all sorts of stuff that you could just take to the front and buy. Right before I went inside, there was somebody who was basically selling, I don't know if it was rice wine or what, but they really, really wanted me to try it, and they weren't going to let me pay. And I tasted it and swallowed a little bit of it. But I didn't drink, like, very much of it. Well, as I went through the store in the very beginning, I was looking at all these games and stuff, and they were all knockoffs, almost exclusively knockoffs of like Super Mario Brothers, Pokemon, Kingdom of Hearts, or whatever it's called. Nothing but knockoffs, and they were all in either Chinese or really poorly translated English. And so it didn't make sense to buy any of them, even if it said PS2 on the front. Like, I wasn't just gonna buy it just to buy it. Well, then things started getting really trippy. Something, either I think with the food, I ended up having diarrhea, and I didn't even know how to ask, where's the bathroom? So I went up to this guy at the front desk, and he said something to me in Chinese, and I asked him, you speak English? And he just shook his head. And so I pulled out my translator, and sorry, I'm parking. I pulled out my translator, and first I put it in simplified Chinese, and he said something like he just kept on. I asked Google to translate the words "where's the bathroom" to simplified Chinese, and he didn't understand it. So I thought, well, maybe he needs Mandarin. Maybe he needs Mandarin. So I translated it to that. And I'm basically like keeping my butt cheeks held together at this point. Finally find the bathroom, and it's basically like a broom closet with a toilet in it. It's tiny. I can't even get the door closed. Blow my guts out. And like I almost threw up. And keep in mind, I'm by myself in this place. It was only a short walk away from the property that we were staying at. Finally get done blowing my guts out, and I come out of the bathroom, and it was like I was on a different floor. There were like, I think 2 floors or 3 floors to this mall. And now I had no idea where I was. And like, it really kind of quickly dawned on me how bad this could be. I didn't even know the address of the place that I was staying. It was just like, okay, it's just up the road. I'm just gonna go here real quick, get a bite to eat, look around, and then come back. So I'm looking and looking and looking, and like this, now I'm trying to find a way out. And this woman comes up to me, and she says to me in like okay English, she says, "Hi, do you have a girlfriend?" I said, "Do you speak English?" She said, "Yeah, I speak English." I said, "Yes, I'm married and I have kids." And she said, "Oh, are they back in Canada? Where are you from?" I said, "United States." She said, "Oh, okay. I can come with you back to United States?" I said, that's completely, I have no control over that. If you want to come to the United States, I wouldn't even begin to know where to apply. Like, I don't know anything about China's policies on whether you can leave or what. She said, "Well, I can marry you and then I can come with you. I get married to you here." And I said, no, I am already married and I'm in a happy relationship. And she like threw this stuff in the air and kissed me on the lips. Like, just jumped at me and did this. And she's like, "We are married now. Hooray. I'm gonna go register as your wife." I said, "No, you're not." But I didn't, like, what was I gonna do? Hit her? So she just started following me around. And I told her that, like, "Look, you're not my wife, but can you help me find my way out of here?" She said, "Yeah, I can help you find your way out of here, but you have to promise to marry me." And I said, "I thought you already said that we were married." She said, "Yeah, we are." I said, "Okay, well then help me find my way out of here." So she helped me find my way out of this place. And the whole time I am just like tripping. Like, there are doors that, how could I explain this? Like, there were doors that you could not get to by walking in straight lines, no matter how many left or right turns you took. It's kind of like one of those impossible pictures where, like, it's a set of stairs going up, but then if you just go to the right and forward, it takes you to the bottom of the stairs. It's like non-Euclidean geometry. It did not make any sense, this store. And so we found our way back to the trailer. And I said, "Okay, nice knowing ya." And she's like, "No, I'm your wife now." I said, "No, you're not." She said, "Okay, well, I'm coming in." And I said, "Okay." Like, I really didn't know what to do, because it wasn't like this was my property. And it wasn't like I could hit her or call the police or anything. So I just said, Emily was on her couch playing BS. And I just said, "Emily, I have no idea who this person is, but I think I said, like, they claim to know the area and they're going to help us." And she's like, "I'm his wife." And Emily was like, "No, I'm his wife." And she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, we can both be wives." And Emily was like, where did you find this person and what do you think you're doing with them?" I said, "Look, I ate something and I do not feel good." And she helped me find my way out of the store that somehow became like totally wonky and wrong. I don't know who she is. I don't even know her first name. But she thinks that if I marry her, that she can come back to the United States. Like, I was completely upfront and honest with Emily. I said, she thinks that she can come back to the United States if she marries me. So she's got it in her head that she's going to marry me. And I don't know how to make her leave, because this isn't like our property or anything. And Emily was just like, well, you're not marrying her and you're not sleeping with her. And like, Emily was mad at me, and I'm just like in the middle of this, and I'm just like, okay. I just kept saying okay. I just wanted to not be sick, and I wanted this person to go away. But she just sat on the couch and like asked us questions and asked us about our kids, and for like more or less basically just became familiar with us. And she never told me her name. But at some point, the truck that we were renting, which was like an American, I think it was a Dodge, it had a part that was bad. And the guy who owned the shop had to like weld it back together and fix it or something. They didn't have a replacement part. But it was extremely weird how the store became all trippy and wrong, and how this woman just randomly grabbed me and just said, I'm gonna marry you. It was, and she was the only person that spoke English. So it was just kind of like, I can barely even argue with this person, but they speak English, so even if just for the time being, it would be handy to keep them around. I don't know. It was extremely weird. Not necessarily a scary dream, other than like maybe getting horribly, violently ill. All right, wrap it up.